Okay. So we'll call to order the Central Oregon Community College Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, June 10th. First up, we have the Native Lands Acknowledgement. So COCC would like to acknowledge that the beautiful land our campuses reside on are the original homelands of the Wasco and the Warm Springs people. They ceded this land to the U.S. government in the Treaty of 1855. The Paiute people were forcibly removed to the Warm Springs Indian Reservation starting in 1879. It is also important to note that the Klamath Trail ran north through this region to the Great Celilo Falls Trading Grounds. Descendants of these original people are thriving members of our communities today. We acknowledge and thank the original stewards of this land. Okay, so now we're at roll call.
Okay. Erica Scapel.
Here.
Jim Porter. Here. Laura Kraska Cooper.
Here.
Joe Brennan. Yes. Aaron Merce.
Here.
Aaron McMorgan.
Here.
Alan Unger. Here. Perfect timing. Ray Pereira. Here. Michael Lalonde. Here. Did I just call your name over and over since this is your last one, Michael? No. Alicia Moore.
Here.
Anne Marie Hamlin.
Here.
Jack Food. Here. Laura Bomey. James Rodriguez. Here. John Baird.
Here.
Cindy Leonard.
Here.
Paul Taylor. Here. Carl Matthews. Here. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have agenda changes, and there's one change I'd like to make at the end of the agenda where it says president's evaluation after we adjourn from executive session. Let's take that off because we'll just be adjourning the whole meeting at that time. We'll make a statement about the evaluation next meeting. Any other agenda changes? Okay. So now we're at public comment.
Yes, we do have some public comment. Sarah, do you wanna let everyone know?
Sure, yeah,
Let's get over first and such.
yeah, we can, well, Carolyn Watson from Chemistry is with me, and we have some statements from our members to read. Do you want us up there, here, where?
Wherever you feel comfortable, there's a
We do have
microphone
a
there.
microphone if people wanna.
I know.
I don't know, you tell me, can you hear me okay?
Just, it's more for the recording and the live stream.
Okay, yeah.
So we come in.
Sure. Yeah, so we each have some statements and we have some statements from our members to share as well. Sure. All right, I'm gonna start by reading a statement from Brian Keachley, one of our faculty member in Redmond. Members of the board, I regret that a professional commitment prevents me from joining you in person. As a faculty member entering my third year at COCC and with over a decade of experience in higher education across Oregon, I chose this institution because I believe in its mission. My team and I have spent the last 2 years rebuilding the manufacturing technology program from the ground up. We inherited a program lacking structure and industry confidence, and we have worked tirelessly to navigate regulatory hurdles and establish systems that ensure our program's survival. We do this because we care about our students, but our current working conditions are unsustainable. I want to highlight 3 critical areas of concern. First, the probationary period. We are currently subject to a 5-year probation. This is an excessive timeline that relies on archaic paperwork and subjective peer reviews rather than objective performance metrics. It creates a climate of instability that prevents us from focusing entirely on student success. Second, intellectual property. As skilled tradespeople, the curriculum we develop is the physical manifestation of our professional experience. Conditioning our continued employment on the surrender of our intellectual property is not just a policy disagreement. It is a fundamental act of disrespect that devalues our expertise and contributions to this college. Finally, the nature of these negotiations. We have seen how previous faculty were forced out by burnout and lack of support. The current proposals, which focus on control rather than partnership, suggest a power dynamic that alienates the very people tasked with student outcomes. This is not just a compensation issue. It is about whether this college views its faculty as valued professionals or mere placeholders. You have a team of dedicated, talented faculty standing before you today. We invest our bodies and souls into the students. We are simply asking, will COCC invest in us with the same level of commitment? The current path is leading to the same attrition we have seen in the past. We have the opportunity to change that legacy. I urge the board to steer these negotiations towards a model of mutual respect and long-term stability. Thank you for your time.
Next, I have a statement from Kristen Dorsey. She says, I am Kristen Dorsey, Humanities member and chair, as well as the faculty lead for our Teaching and Learning Center, CAFE. I'm also the most tenured full-time faculty member based on a northern campus in Redmond. The joy of this has been serving the community in which I live. I live in a multi-generational home with my parents and school-aged children just outside of Redmond. I order coffee from my own students, see them at the grocery store, and run into them at community events. There are also special challenges to this job. While a lot of Ben campus staff complain about having to occasionally come to one of the northern campuses, I often am driving into Ben several times a week, even when I'm not teaching there. Faculty and committee meetings and trainings are all held more often, if not exclusively, on the Ben campus. Post-COVID, I sometimes can attend by Zoom. More often, I'm expected to be on the Ben campus regardless of where I'm teaching. There are strict rules about mileage reimbursements, so most of these trips I am financially responsible for. Trips to Bend from home take 30 minutes, and trips between Bend and Redmond campuses 25, depending on traffic, so there is a time expenditure as well. I feel responsible for being in the room during college-wide conversations. If I'm not, I often find out afterwards that decisions have been made without taking into account faculty or students at the northern campuses. In one of the room, I'm the one in the room constantly asking, what's the plan for RPM? Every time I make this effort, it takes time away from my primary assignment, but to not do so often leaves the northern campuses without representation. Working in Redmond, I wear many hats. Since we have fewer student services on campus, I do extra advising, help students connect to financial aid, registration, counseling, e-learning. Sometimes I'm the only person in my building, so I facilitate students looking for classrooms, deliveries needing to be signed for, prospective families needing to be greeted and directed. In my classroom, after teaching, I might help the part-time instructor who comes in after me navigate the room. Everyone who works in Redmond does all of this. The ability to work alongside other faculty, the campus director, student services, and administrative assistants is something I love. But these things take time that I otherwise would be using to prep for grading. In order to connect to my colleagues, I usually have to go to them. This means coming to Ben for our department meetings, forum meetings and socials, happy hours, retirement parties. I have to choose between driving an hour round trip and spending the money on gas to be collegial or missing these important opportunities. The ability to check in with other faculty is central to my job, not just a pleasure. So much important work, so many important decisions get made during social events. Thank you for allowing me to address the experience of faculty at the northern campuses. I wouldn't trade my experiences in Redmond, but they come at a cost to me and my family. The extra time often impacts family time. Grading that didn't happen during the day gets done in the evening instead. Supporting the northern campuses appropriately means understanding the special needs of the faculty working at those campuses and supporting those faculty fully. We deserve competitive wages and reasonable workloads.
Next statement is from Eric Magidson. He is a professor in the Computer Information Sciences Department. As Central Oregon Community College faculty and administration continue to bargain, we are failing to address the broader long-term impact these negotiations are having on our culture and the college's future. The process has been defined by administrative delays, often exceeding a month for a single response, and a lack of proactive engagement, effectively stalling our 150-day timeline. For over a decade, while faculty have maintained an unwavering commitment to our students, we have watched our compensation decline, failing to keep pace with inflation or the skyrocketing cost of living in Central Oregon, even as other Oregon colleges prioritize their faculty in keeping pace with those costs. This persistent disregard for our professional value is not just a bargaining hurdle, it is a long-term threat to our institution. Furthermore, we are 3 years behind in addressing AI. We have failed to grapple with how these tools and technology disrupt our pedagogy, threaten our institutional survival, and fundamentally alter the daily working conditions of every employee and student learning. We are negotiating in the past while our future is being disrupted in real time. A failure driven by a management philosophy that consistently undervalues the faculty expertise essential to navigating this existential crisis. The disparity is demoralizing. While faculty compensation has stagnated, the administration secured a 16% market adjustment for themselves in 2024 and is now asking for a 4% cost of living increase. The current offer for faculty was in fact reduced from the original counteroffer, reducing in a pay decrease for senior faculty. This sends a clear damaging message about whose contributions are truly valued and whose are viewed as a cost to be managed. We have a shared goal for this to be a first choice institution, but we must be honest about how that is achieved. A first choice college is built on the strengths of its programs, the depth of its innovation, the mentorship and direct student support provided by faculty. These are not administrative functions. They are the direct result of the professional faculty's expertise and the massive amount of work they do in front of the class and behind the scenes every day. This is why the administration's current attempt to finance the college at the expense of faculty financial security and dismantling our intellectual property rights is so alarming. Innovation cannot thrive in an environment where the creators of that innovation are stripped of their own ownership and agency. When you attack a faculty's rights to their own intellectual work, you are not just hurting individuals, you are actively killing the incentive to innovate. You are ensuring a transition from a culture of high-level contribution to one of cold, professional compliance. The erosion of trust is leading to a systemic checking out across every rank. When faculty feel undervalued or underpaid, and when their professional output is threatened by institutional overreach, we lose the engine of our progress. We stall the program updates that keep us relevant, and we destroy our ability to recruit the next generation of educators. I want to address the narrative we've been hearing from the administration lately, that faculty standing together is creating division. Let me be clear. This division was established by a decade of neglect at the bargaining table. It is precisely because of this persistent disregard for our professional values that the majority of our faculty felt compelled to seek the protection afforded by joining OEA. If we are forced into further steps, we are not looking at a temporary disruption. We are looking at a further decline in institution vitality. It is time to align the college's budget and policies with its stated mission, vision, and goals. Moving forward, these principles must shift from your marketing statements to active, measurable commitments. We're asking you to recognize that you cannot build a first choice college by marginalizing the very people who do the work. Help protect our culture and capacity for innovation before the damage becomes irreversible. Our community needs a college that prioritizes people over projects.
Dear COCC Board of Directors, as a communication faculty member, this is from Lisa Merritt, completing my 30th year in higher education, I've long told my students to, quote, use your civic voice. What kind of mentor am I if I don't lead by example? So here goes. My name is Lisa Merritt, came to COCC in the fall of 2019 after 23 years serving in both faculty and administrative roles at a Tier 1 Research 2 university in the South. I began at COCC as a part-time faculty for a year before moving into an adjunct position for 2 years. That position went away after the Oregon Promise guidelines changed, so I was fortunate to spend 2 years in administration as a program manager, drumming up business for customized training and professional development non-credit courses, including working closely with Brightwood and Keith Manufacturing here in Jefferson County. I was able to join the faculty full-time fall 2024. It's where I'm meant to be. With our current system, I'm considered, quote, junior faculty. As an assistant professor too, the highest ranking I could achieve despite my 2-decade career at a notable university. That ranking, of course, also affects my salary, and I'm still in a probationary period, a long 5-year probationary period. Meanwhile, the administration has a 1-year probationary period. We're all professionals. Many of our administrators rose up through the faculty ranks. Why are we treated differently? I love my job. I love the students. As absurd as it sounds, I hope to achieve tenure and promotion before I'm ready to retire. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the proposed 4% COLA increase for administration on your agenda tonight seems tone deaf, given the stalling that's occurred over the last 6 months of negotiations. Compared to the 1% COLA proposal offered by admin, it feels like a slap in the face. Not to mention that the faculty have not recently enjoyed a market adjusted raise and COLA allowances over the last 2 years. None of us have jobs without the students, and the students wouldn't be at COCC without the faculty. We are the product. Why are we so devalued? Thank you for listening. Respectfully, Lisa Merritt.
We've also been collecting postcards from our faculty, and I'd like to read just a few of the postcards that we have collected. Sorry, we collected postcards from both faculty and students, but I think the ones I'm reading for you today are just from faculty. So the first one reads, "We love working here. Please make it sustainable for us to continue to teach and live in Central Oregon. Thank you for your support, COCC faculty." Someone wrote an acrostic, "Compassion and compensation are committed colleagues. Thank you." Thank you for standing by COCC faculty as the heart of this campus. We are here to support our students every step of their academic journey at this incredible institution. Someone else writes, "The budget you design reveals your priorities. Reprioritize." Someone writes, "This is Sean Rule from the math department. Please listen to your faculty negotiations team. Please, their ideas are sound, and although it will stress the school a little short term, doing nothing would be far worse. Thanks for reading."
More postcards. "I urge the board to prioritize faculty salaries. COCC cannot continue to rely on low tuition while expecting faculty to absorb the cost through stagnant wages. If we value student success, program quality, and long-term institutional stability, we must invest in the people doing the teaching. That may require raising tuition. Being the cheapest option should not come at the expense of compensating faculty." Can you please just address this question? How do most of the other community colleges pay their faculty a market wage significantly higher than ours, and COCC can't? Consider this: your budget reflects your values, and it is not staff and faculty. Stacy Donahue. "Why doesn't the board discuss wages and falling wages in budget discussions? Why have we blatantly ignored this? The vast majority of faculty at COCC have sacrificed for their students, regularly working long hours, weekends, and evenings to help students develop amazing curriculum and advocate for student needs. But consistently low salaries hurt our family. My own kids can't afford things because of it. We are asking to feel valued, not just with words, but actions." Thank you for the time, energy, and commitment you share with COCC. We are grateful that you chose us. This is an extension of your belief in our college as a critical resource for our community. As a faculty member for 22 years at COCC, I celebrate your dedication to our continued presence in college. In gratitude. Dear Board of Directors, while you all may not have served in your roles when some of these compensation and workload policies were enacted and were maintained for far too long, you serve in those decision-making roles now. Please answer this moment and its call to action and help begin the course correction this college needs. It is time. Let's make this happen together. Caitlin Kiley. Stop speaking as though we are a tiny institution. Begin leading like we are a college worthy of the region we serve. People don't come to COCC for low tuition. People come for quality, vision, excellence, and a college that believes enough in itself to invest in its people.
I'm going to read my statement, which I actually wrote out this time. So good evening, members of the board. My glasses. June is one of the best months for an educator. It marks the end of our academic year and brings the profound satisfaction of seeing our students achieve their goals. It's also a natural time to reflect on the year behind us, express gratitude, and look towards what lies ahead. In that spirit, I want to express my sincere thanks to all of you for your care and support for this college. Thank you for championing programs that serve our community. This campus for one, and the DRCI College and Prison Program. Many of you attended that graduation yesterday with me, and it was mission affirming in the deepest way possible. We are incredibly fortunate to do this work. No one enters the field of education expecting to become rich or famous. We do this because we are called to do it, because we find purpose in nurturing and educating others. We do it because we care deeply about our communities and the future. At the same time, we must balance that passion with the economic reality. This is also the job we rely on to pay our bills, to support our families, and to take care of our children. As we look forward, I want to share what we are hearing from our members loud and clear. First, faculty need and deserve a market adjustment. Our salaries must keep pace with our competitor colleges in Oregon. We don't need to be the highest paid, but we certainly shouldn't be the lowest paid faculty. Many faculty have expressed deep outrage, betrayal, and anger this week after learning the administration is proposing a 4% COLA for themselves while offering the faculty a mere 1% COLA after months of negotiation. To be clear, faculty are not saying that administration doesn't deserve a cost of living adjustment. In fact, according to the email sent yesterday by Michael Lalonde regarding student fees, the college has set a 3.8% inflationary factor. Clearly, the college recognizes the heavy impact of inflation. What we object to is that the college refuses to extend that same consideration to its own faculty. And frankly, this disparity is making our members feel devalued and distressful, as you heard in many of these statements. Second, faculty deserve control over their intellectual property. The IP article in our current contract was written by administration, and we are baffled as to why there is a push to force faculty to surrender their creative and intellectual work. The vast majority of us already share our materials and our curriculum willingly and freely with our colleagues, but we draw a firm line at being forced to do so. This issue has escalated from a non-factor to a breaking point. Members have expressed to us that they are not only willing to strike over this, but will leave the college entirely if it is implemented. Our members are making it abundantly clear to us that something has to change. We hope that you will extend the same care and long-range vision to the faculty that you bring to every other aspect of this college. We urge you to take decisive action to correct years of salary neglect and support our bargaining platform. Thank you.
This is from me, Carol Higginbotham. I want to talk with you a bit about student access to our classes and programs, an area where the administration and our faculty are highly aligned. As we sit here in Madras, the efforts to bring classes and programs to outlying parts of the district are on all of our minds. All of us have worked very, very hard to make that access possible, and I commend you for your part in that work. I have concern, however, about our institution's commitment to support the human side of this access work. It's necessary now to provide adequate support to the faculty who bring classes to life in Madras, Redmond, and Prineville, as well as in Bend and online. While you have built out new facilities and brought the community to the door, the teachers who provide quality education and access to our students have at the same time been experiencing the consequences of years of being put on the back burner while the cost of living has dramatically increased and workloads have increased as well. When I was first paying attention to faculty negotiations and was a regular attendee of board members when I was forum president, that was about 12 years ago. I recall us all boasting about healthy faculty salaries and pledging to keep those in the top third across the state. Maybe some of you remember. As you have seen with time, our salaries have slipped to the very bottom of the pile when compared to our other Oregon public community colleges. The situation is made worse by churn in departments as a consequence of regular declined job offers and failed searches, resulting in forced overloads, which remarkably are sometimes discussed as though they are a faculty issue. I politely remind you, our schedules are planned a year in advance and management assigns our course loads. Overloads actually reflect a struggling system where predicted staffing needs are inaccurate, a consequence of the difficulty hiring and keeping faculty. And while there was a time in the recent past when we would only fledge new programs with full-time faculty positions, we now further lean on this fragile system. We're putting huge responsibilities on new and precarious faculty, temporary faculty, part-time faculty, new full-time faculty with little teaching experience are all dropped into program direction and chair work, have rapidly shifting course assignments, and need to help with the actual recruitment and hiring of their colleagues. In the past 3 days, I have heard from 5 people that such arrangements are causing them to seek or maintain second jobs. And they are looking to the future and running calculations to see if they can make it work to work here. It doesn't have to be this way. I urge you to demonstrate your concern and care. Please hear us as we try to explain our struggles and recognize that you have the power to address them. The proposals we bring to the negotiating table about market adjustments, cost of living adjustments, workload issues, and changes to salary scale are signals of a system under great strain. Like you, we value access deeply. We also insist those students get a quality education. And for those things to happen, we need institutional sustainability, which includes adequate support so faculty can dedicate themselves to the job. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah and Carol. Does that conclude all the public comment, Lucas?
That is so.
All right, so we'll move to the next agenda item, consent agenda. Would you like to make a motion?
Move approval an agenda as we did.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Laura. So it's been first and seconded. Any other questions or comments? You're gonna abstain? You're gonna do it? Okay. Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye and or raise your hand.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so that is. Okay, so now we will jump into the budget hearing. That's the whispering.
Bring in the microphone just in case some people.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you. So the first item on the agenda under the budget hearing, I think public comment is the first part of it.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
For any public comment.
So is there any public comment or testimony for the budget hearing, Lucas? No. Okay, so then we have the notice of supplemental budget hearing.
That's really for informational purposes only. It's just a notice that we have to provide that we're having a budget hearing. The next item on the agenda is the resolution for supplemental budget changes. And what that relates to is basically an increase in grants that we've received throughout the year and the corresponding spending for those grants. It's really good news. And we got 2 million more than we thought. So. There is a resolution. And the options are to approve the proposed supplemental budget or not approve it. The timing is for this fiscal year. And the budget impact will be to increase revenue by 2 million and increase spending for grants, material services for 2 million. And then there's a proposed resolution.
Thank you, Michael. Ready? I will make a motion. All right, thank you, Erin. Be it resolved that the Centauri Community College Board of Directors hereby approve the changes to the 2026 fiscal year budget as identified in the supplemental budget resolution. Second. Okay, so it's been first and seconded. Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Okay, none opposed.
So the next resolution relates to all appropriation by category. And this just gives the legal authority for each of these categories to be spent up to their appropriation level. Any increase of more than 10% would have to go back to a budget hearing, or any spending over the 10% over would have to come back to a budget hearing. But this is the information that was presented at the budget hearings in April and May, and there has been no changes to it. So the options are to make appropriations at this time or not to do that. We have to make the appropriations by the beginning of next fiscal year, which starts July 1st, 2026.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Any questions, comments? Is there a motion?
Oh, so moved.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, moved and seconded. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye, or raise your hand. Aye. Okay, so it's none opposed. Okay, moving on.
The next item is the governing body must declare through resolution the measure 5 limitation category of each of its taxes. According to ORS 294.456, the resolution is a basis for the certification of the tax limitation category that is submitted to the assessor on Form ED 50. So there's a permanent rate of 0.6204 per thousand, and then the general obligation amount will also be assessed according to the go bonds that were passed by the residents. Options: impose and categorize taxes at this time or not to do so. It must be imposed before July 1st, 2026 for the college to continue operations. And there's a proposed resolution.
Okay, any questions, comments? Anybody? Motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Jim. Second, okay. We're just gonna jump in. So all those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, so none opposed. Okay,
The next item is the resolution to adopt fiscal year 26-27 budget. In the budget committee discussions for the 26-27 budget focused on enrollment challenges in higher education, competitive tuition rates, state funding, increasing costs, deferred maintenance, capital outlay, budget increase, decrease versus prior year, long-term financial planning, and the college's reserve ratio, among many other things. The budget was developed to maintain accessibility and affordability for our students while strategically using grant funds in fiscal year 26-27. The college will be monitoring the state's biennium appropriation for the Community College Support Fund and student enrollment levels, taking any budgetary actions required. No changes are proposed to the budget approved by the Central Oregon Budget Committee on May 13th, 2026. The Board of Directors has the power to adjust the resources and expenditures as approved by the Budget Committee. However, the governing body power to change the approved budget is limited. The board can reduce or even eliminate expenditures in a fund, but expenditures cannot be increased in a fund by more than 10%. In addition, the board cannot increase the property tax rate or amount approved by the Budget Committee. If the governing body wants to exceed either of these limits, it must publish a revised financial summary and a budget hearing notice and hold another budget hearing. So the options are to adopt the budget at this time or not to do so. The budget must be adopted before July 1st, 2026, which is the first day of the 2027 fiscal year. No changes were proposed from the budget hearing. And there's a proposed resolution.
So moved. Thank you, Erin.
Second.
Number one. Is it Jim?
Yeah, just choose one.
Okay, Jim one. Okay. Moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye and or raise your hand. Aye. Okay, none opposed. Thank you, Michael. So now we're in the budget hearing, and now we're gonna be into the contract review board meeting. Just like that. We're here.
Okay, we're here.
We
Okay,
did
we're
it.
here.
We adjourned, and now we're in it.
Before I read the, kind of the background, I'll give you a couple points about the changes to the CCRP. As a reminder, section 100 and 200 of the procurement rules are intended to remain consistent across participating Oregon community colleges. Section 300 contains COCC specific supplemental provisions and is most of the proposed changes are located. The most significant change in section 300 is increasing all formal procurement thresholds to 250,000 to align with the Oregon model procurement rules. So we were much less. Oregon raised these thresholds in 2023, and the other community colleges have already adopted the change. COCC is simply catching up. One related item to note is that board policy currently caps the president's spending authority at $100,000, which matched some previous procurement rules. The board policy committee plans to discuss updating that provision so it aligns with the procurement threshold. So in other words, a draft of a policy change has been submitted to the policy committee to increase the president's authority to match the 450,000. We also incorporated a provision borrowed from Road Community College that establishes additional controls around purchases made through alternative marketplaces such as eBay, Facebook Marketplace, and similar platforms. So in other words, employees cannot buy from those platforms unless it's authorized by the BPFO, because they don't have guarantees, they don't have warranty, things like that. The remaining edits are primarily housekeeping changes recommended by legal counsel to address provisions in section 300 that were unclear, internally inconsistent, or not fully aligned with Oregon law. And we provided you with a markup of the provisions. So I guess, is there any questions before I jump into the resolution document?
What's the objective of having all the community colleges have the same recruitment rules and regulations?
Paul, do you know the background better than I do?
It has to do with, they require that everybody have the same rules so that they can participate in the same cooperative procurement system. It's been that way since the early 2000s.
2004. So I'll get to the background of the resolution document. Beginning in spring 2004, task force of Oregon Community College representatives developed the community college rules of procurement to provide consistency in purchasing and contracting decisions across the state's community college system, with a limited local variation to reflect institutional needs. In March 2005, the board convened as a local contract review board, adopted the CCRP. The CCRP addresses competitive procurement, personal professional services, contracting, and special procurements. The CCRP is structured in 3 sections. I already kind of covered that whole paragraph in the resolution document. So I won't cover it again. And I covered the substantive changes as well. At the bottom of that page, it gives you what we moved from and what we moved to. And we describe the different types of purchasing that is done under each one. When I say we, it's Angie Anderson May did the heavy lifting on this. So, personnel services are defined, A&E and related services are defined. So the options are to approve the recommended changes to the community college rules of procurement or not to do so. The timing would be effective immediately. So it would be changing some of our procurement rules, including when we have to go out for a formal RFP. And the budget impact is done. So there's a proposed resolution.
Yes.
Can you explain what our competitive bid process has been? And what proposals you're making here? That was the only part I was wondering if we were doing away with some guidelines that were helpful. Could you just explain our competitive bid process?
So the formal procurement means that we have to go out to a formal bid process where we solicit bids from a number of different vendors according to our bid document. And then they submit them, we sit down with a review committee, review each of them. We can bring them in for an interview if we're not sure, and then we make a decision. The more intermediate and formal is that we request 3 bids. And it's not as formal and we don't have to set up a committee to review them, although we normally do. So. And then,
What's the threshold, the dollar threshold for this process?
so we are moving from. If I remember the form, the formal is moving from 150 to 250 for. For, I think it's personal services and A&E related services. With this entire document.
Okay, I got another question for you. What does personal services mean?
Those are services where.
So the personal services.
Sorry.
You wanna do it?
Sure, typically they're professional services, services that are delivered to a licensor, and
Unlicensed process, right? So the changes would then mean that we're moving from. For anything over 150,000, we have to go through like Oregon buys or something.
We're moving it to anything over 250.
Would have to go through that competitive bid process on Oregon buys, okay.
Right.
Okay, any other questions with Michael Stein, sorry? Looks like he's still digging.
Oh, for the other question?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought I was off the hook if I said.
You are, he answered it, Paul answered
Oh,
it.
didn't?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the full answer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions before we go into voting? Anybody like to do the proposed resolution or make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Erin.
Okay.
Seconded by Jim. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Michael, are we amending the policy? Doesn't that have to be done via a A first read and a second read?
So, the policy was submitted to the policy review committee.
Right.
And then you're going to review it and give feedback, and then if you agree with the recommendation.
So we're not doing,
We're not
but we
doing
can
it.
still adopt the policy after the fact.
Right.
Okay, that's what I just misunderstood. Okay. Nothing further.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So first, second, any other questions or comments aside from Laura's? All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Okay, none opposed. Thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna adjourn the contract review board meeting, and we are now in open session again. Thank you, Michael.
I think I have, something to report on the financial,
Oh, so you're just gonna stay there?
if I can.
You may stay there. Okay, so now we are in information items. So we have the monthly budget status.
So what I would like to report is a calculation of the reserve ratio for through April of 2026. So you've approved the policy for the general fund reserve. And as part of that policy on a monthly basis, the PFO has to inform the board of what our current reserve ratio is at this time. So currently the calculation are that it is at 24.4%, which is above the requirement of the reserve policy, which is 60 days for right around 17%. There is a transfer we will have to make before the end of the year for the Madras Campus Center for about $5 million. When we make that transfer, it would reduce our general fund reserve to 18%. So that hasn't been done yet, but it will happen before the end of the year. So our number is getting fairly close to the 60 days reserve that is required in the top.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I just want to be clear that that 5 million is the 5 million, that's not any additional money, that's what we've already.
It's
That's
less, no,
Okay,
than what was.
it's what we've already-
budgeted, yes, less than what was budgeted by about $1.6 million, $1.7 million. And that's good. Now I can sit down.
If you'd like, sir.
Michael, you said once we, Mike, I got a question.
Oh, no, you can't yet. You have to stay there for a minute.
Okay.
So once the 5 million is transferred, we're at 18%, and it's how many days?
That's just over 60.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Michael before he sits down? Okay,
I have a question. Will you, will that update start being like incorporated into our packet every month ahead of time, so it doesn't have to be delivered verbally?
It will be,
Okay. Great, thanks.
yes.
okay. Anything else? All right, so now we're moving on to new hire reports. I think Laura's here tonight. Shauna, oh, yay, hi. Any questions? Comments? Nope, okay, so we're moving on. And then, Madras campus update, so we have James. Welcome.
Thank you.
Go, James.
Yeah.
You're gonna do a great job.
Right, welcome everyone to the Madras campus. I really appreciate you all making the trip out here on a beautiful June day. Gives me a little bit of a break from the league, so thank you all. So most of you know me already. I'm James Rodriguez. I'm the Madras campus director. I've been in this position since February 2025, so I'm coming up a year and a half. When I started, the expansion was going on and a lot of new things were going on with this campus, and so I hit the ground running. And with that, I also had some projects in town that I've worked on. we'll talk about a little bit about that here in the presentation. Before we dive into the presentation, I just want to take a moment to just share an image of the small but mighty Matters team. There's 4 of us here that work full-time. We have Anna, Natalie, and Al. Well, without them, this campus would quite frankly, and I've learned so much from them since I started, and they've been a huge support, not just to me, but to students, faculty, staff, and community members that come here. And just the comments that I hear out in the community and with COCC community about how beautiful our campus is. It's all credited to Al, day in, day. I mean, he works late, keeping this place beautiful for the next day, you know, and so, I really appreciate all the work he does as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about, some of the data. So I know last board meeting, Cindy touched on that a little bit on the branch campuses, so I'm just gonna highlight a few things. With numbers, here I have the last 3 years of credit students, that have attended this campus or taken one class on this campus through the whole academic year. So you can see the total head count for each year, followed by sections offered, which are the classes that we've had on this campus for the whole academic year. You can see with the head count, it's been pretty steady in regards to just numbers, staying pretty consistent across the board. One thing I want to highlight is the seats taken. With the new programs coming in and just more variety on this campus, we're seeing a lot more students stay home or take more classes instead of just taking one and go to another campus. So, you know, students that's probably take 1 or 2 are probably now taking, you know, 2 to 3. So, it's exciting to see that we have more students here, staying local, which is the ultimate goal with the new expansion. So, it's just, it's showing, it's a testament of just what this expansion has done for our community. So I know this was covered at the last board meeting, but I want to highlight it again, just to show you all just kind of, the student population that we have here on Madge campus. So out of those 199 students that we had this academic year, 70% of those students were female students. We also had, a large Latinx, student population at 44%, which made up 87 of our students. And we had Native American and Alaska Native at 16%, and then our highest age group was 19 and under at 32%. And I'll touch base on that or go back to that here in a sec. Financial need, so those that are seeking financial aid, was at 49% of our students, and then first generation was 64%. All but the age section there, actually the Madge campus has the highest percentage of any other campus, so, we have the highest female student body, Latinx, Native American, financial need, and first generation students. So that kind of just paints a picture of the students that we are serving here in this community. And the exciting thing about the 19 under, that was our highest age group, and it actually increased from last year. I don't know the exact number, but it has increased this academic year, and I credit that to just from my experience of being out in the community, to the excitement about the new programs and what we offer now here on this campus, as well as some of the partnerships I've been building with the local school district. And so, I have a slide here ahead that, I'll talk a little bit about some of the projects that I've been doing with the school, so. Thanks. And then I wanted to point out the time enrollment for fall. So I checked on this today and updated it. So as of today, compared to last June of 2025, we currently have 39 students that have enrolled in classes for fall, this upcoming fall term, which is a 44% increase from last June. So our numbers are increasing here. 23 of those students are seeking some type of healthcare career program. So it's a huge raise in our numbers. And you can see 34 of those students are female. So traditionally with the healthcare careers as well as education, just have been, yes.
So the 39 doesn't necessarily mean degree seeking students, it can include certificate or these.
These are accredited students,
Yeah.
accredited students, yeah. Yeah, good question, yeah. Any other questions about that? So, yes, Jim.
It kind of changed it. Are we filling all our classes? Are we turning people away from classes?
Are we turning away, folks, possibly, like, are we having wait lists and all that? Currently, no, and we're still pretty early in the enrollment process. We still have all summer. I'm hopeful with what this is looking like. We'll eventually get to that point, but right now, it's early to say. We're in June and we still have a few more months to get to that point. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, hopefully I answered the question. Yeah, okay. And then, so being the second smallest campus at COCC, we're a mighty one in regards to what programs we have here. The newer ones, nursing, medical assisting, or medical assistant, nursing assistant, and we still offer early childhood education as well as an AOT program, a student, and I mapped it out, so I know you as a student can get your AOT here on the Matters campus. So that was one of my first little projects that I did when I started the job. I was like, can it be done? And it can. So if a student works hard at it, works with their advisor, they can do it. Obviously, everyone's life situation is a little different, but they can be done. We also offer GED classes, both in English and Spanish. I'm excited to say that we started offering GED classes in Spanish this academic year, so that's a huge win. Being, the community that, a little bit backstory, I grew up here, and I know there's a real need for accessible education for non-English speaking students, so heavy Spanish speaking population here, so super excited about that. And you might have met Songbird. She teaches GED classes in English, and then we had Caesar teach Spanish. So huge job, or huge kudos to them for doing an outstanding job. And then Amy Scancliffe teaches our English language learners. So those are classes for students who their first language isn't English, so it helps them learn English and eventually hopefully move into GED and beyond. So we actually have a student here that started there and just finished the CNA program, so it's super exciting. I just wanted to stay there for a second, because I kind of want to highlight some of the things. I love stories. With the nursing program, I attend coffee covers through the chamber. And so when I was there just recently, I had a mom come up to me, and it's actually this student here. So his mom came up to me and was like, James, did you know that my son got admitted to the nursing program? And I'm like, no. I was like, that's exciting. And so she was super thrilled, and she just told me the whole story about how he shared the news with her and made her wait, and I guess suffer a little bit sharing the news, but it was a good story. And what I like about it is this was his first year at COCC, so he did a tremendous job of showing up to classes, doing the work, and getting into that nursing program, giving address. And then with our medical assisting program, we finished our first cohort this year, which was super awesome. And that was led by Jill Ridley. So great job with her. And Natalia, great job with the nursing students. It's always fun to swing by the class and see what you all are up to. And sometimes I get a little nervous. I'm going to get sucked into something and be a volunteer. Nursing assistant. We had actually two cohorts this spring term. We actually had one cohort made up of high school students from Matters High School and Clover High School. So they just completed that. And now that they've completed that and are graduating from high school, they can dive right into the workforce as CNAs. And we also had a cohort of COCC students. So it's definitely exciting to see some of those programs take off the way that they have. And with the early childhood education, and the expansion and having that partnership with TCLC, the Children's Learning Center, we've had, opportunities for students to learn from the actual teachers with those observation rooms. And I just got word just recently from Maribel Jimenez, the early childhood education faculty member, that 2 of her students got hired on TCLC. So there's a lot of great things happening on Matters campus. And so super excited to share those stories. I know there's a lot of stories, but I just, it puts a big old smile on my face when I hear this. So it's great for the community, and being homegrown, being from the community, it's definitely meaningful. And then some of the partnerships I've been working with. So when I first started, I made it my goal or my mission to reach out to the high schools, talk to administrators, really get to know them, see what opportunities there were for them. And what came of it was this mentorship program. So being a first gen student myself, I know the challenges. I face those challenges, so I know firsthand. And so what I did was in talks and in collaboration with the high school, we started a mentorship program. So we started that pilot cohort in January. And we had monthly sessions with these mentees. We were able to get 13 juniors to participate. And so the way it worked out is during these monthly sessions, they came out on Monday mornings because they had late start at Madras High School. So they would show up at 7:30. So these students were dedicated to this program. So you're a high school student, waking up super early on a late start. There's just a dedication there. So, you know, they came up and we worked with them, and you can see here that 9 of them were interested in healthcare and 4 were interested in ed VCE. And some of the things that we went over during our sessions were just college terminology. We reviewed grad tracks. We did some surveys. We kind of did some tests, kind of just personality tests. We really worked with them to just make them feel comfortable and create that meaningful connection with COCC. That way, you know, they walk through our doors, they know who they can talk to, feel comfortable doing so. We also had family nights that were part of this, so we invited families to come out and we'd have pizza and kind of just revisit some of the stuff we went over with the mentees with the families, because a lot of them were first gen. So a lot of families weren't familiar with college, so it really helped the families out as well. And strengthening partnerships, we actually, during this time, we actually got interest from the high school counselors to do some type of workshop around grad track. So we put together a class for them or a workshop for them and went over grad tracks with high school counselors. So some of the things that we're doing are kind of opening up doors for other opportunities for the high school. And next steps, they were all juniors, so I'm hoping that they come back next year as seniors and take on a leadership role and help lead that incoming cohort, or new students with the support of the staff. And I'm hopeful that we can also get COCC students to be mentors. So that's the end goal. So I'm super excited about this project. And we had kind of like a little celebration. Cindy was there and it was pretty fun. So it was super exciting to see.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without the COCC team. It was made up of Kara Rutherford, Lee Church from High School Partnerships, Carlene Perry from Pathways, Daniel Wick from A&R. So without them, this couldn't have happened. And from the high school administrators, the principal, Tony Summers, he was a huge support in this. So I'm hoping to expand it and you know, just continue it. So thank you.
Awesome.
And then in recent events on the Madras campus, we had the April 30th ribbon cutting, which was super exciting. It was a huge turnout. We had over 100 folks from the community here. Huge thank you to Tribal Council member, Washington Tribal Council member Elvis Smith III to come out and give some wonderful words about education and the importance of it here to us locally. And then the Stand Bake was also a great turnout. It was a great event. It's so meaningful here in our area to have events like this. I connected with Jeremiah Rector, who coordinated this whole event. He said that they counted over 300 attendees at that Santa Fe, so huge turnout. And since I've been in this role, that's kind of been my goal too, is to bring, or just work with my other colleagues to try to bring more events out here, because it does make a difference. And it shows the community that we do care and we're here for them, so, yeah. And then, it's kind of cut out, but, I invite you all to coffee covers tomorrow. We're actually hosting it here on the Madras campus, 8:30, or excuse me, 8 to 9. I'm doing this in partnership with Sophia from the foundation, so super excited about that. If you don't know, I'm actually a board member of the chamber, so I'm really involved with that. Just do what I can in the community, support them, and build those partnerships between our community and the college. So yeah, I invite you all to that if you can make it. Thanks. And I just want to say thank you to everyone. I thought this was a beautiful picture of our donor wall with some of the folks that we had out in the community during the ribbon cutting. So thank you. Any questions? No? All right, thank you all. Appreciate it. Good job.
You can see your pride.
Oh, thank you.
Incredible progress in such a short period of time.
No,
Well done.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're on to renewal of faculty and staff appointments. Donna? Do you have anything they?
Yeah, so real quick, the faculty renewal was Anne Marie's office. The staff appointments, that's the list I have in there. I have in the board packet, the list of staff administrative renewals. And then the packet is the staff renewals. So, for both of them.
Okay. Any questions? Good on? Okay, we'll move on now. Now we're to new business. So we have the administrators and confidential employees salary wage adjustment, 2026-27. Sean, anything you'd like to say about? You're just up, just like Michael was earlier. Okay. Would we like to have a discussion as a board, or would somebody like to make a motion?
Just a question around
Yes.
how we determine 4%.
Sure, so historically, they've tried to keep salaries somewhat aligned as far as the increase.
Greg, can you speak up a little bit?
Sure. Historically, my understanding is that we've tried to keep the increase percentage somewhat consistent between different groups. We did a 6% increase for classified, plus the step that they get, but we cannot afford to do that for administrators as well. We're doing, I think our next resolution item is a 4.75% increase for our ABS faculty, I believe, in the first year. Plus the step increase that they get as well. So it's by no means a matter of giving administrators a higher salary. We cannot keep administrators on pace with other groups at the college if we're gonna have money left to pay our.
And there's no step thing for this.
Administrators do
This is
not
the
get a
whole
step.
thing.
That
This is your cost
that
of
is-
living and your longevity and your increased productivity or whatever, right?
That is
the whole thing.
So they're getting 2.5% less than the bargaining rate. Because they're not putting in the.
well in class. So that's the.
I make a motion to pass this, resolution.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Joe and Jim. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye. Actually, look at me.
Any
Third question.
I think none opposed, right? Okay. All right, so next up, we have adults basic skills collective bargaining agreement for 2025-28 through 28. Any discussion on this?
So I take it we don't have to, call out what those agreement was in regards to the increase. You know, this type of resolution.
What do you mean?
Well, it's in the budget impact.
Okay, I guess it's in
Item D, correct? Yeah, it's a 4.75% increase for all ABS employees in year 1 of the contract. Year 2 and year 3 each have a 4.25% increase. Each year of the contract also includes an approximate 1.69% step. The proposed increase in ABS wages affects the budget by approximately $160,000 over a 3-year period.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Anyone like to read the resolution or? So moved. So moved. Okay, thank you.
Second.
All right, thank you, Erin. Maura? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye and raise your hand.
All right.
So that was none opposed. Okay, so now we're on to full-time faculty rehire recommendations. I have those, and then you were eagerly awaiting those, given the teaser you had a few minutes ago.
Yes.
So you have in your packet a list of, full-time faculty rehire recommendations for the coming year. Those are divided into, probationary faculty, of which there are 23. Tenured faculty, tenured or interline faculty, no, yes, there we go, of which there are 83. And then we also have 3 full-time temporary faculty, and we have provided you a list of the faculty who will be retiring this year. So we have this here for your approval for next year. Okay, and I'm happy to answer questions if you have them. Any questions for Anne Marie?
I move that we make this, pass this resolution.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
All right.
Okay, so that is none opposed. Okay, so now we're to Board of Directors operations. So we have a summer retreat update. And we're having one.
Yep.
What is gonna be the time of it?
9 to 1.
9 to-
9 AM to 1, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna be able to make the first part.
Okay, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, we'll be doing, we still need to officially solidify the agenda, but we'll be doing the, president's goals for the upcoming year.
Okay, yeah, whatever's like most important for me to be there, because I think the wedding, I don't have to be to sisters like.
Okay,
Well, it's in Redmond, so it's on the way, yeah.
That helps. That helps.
yes.
Yeah, that does, yeah.
Just to throw it out there, what's everyone's thought about it, said, starting the meeting at 8. You know, I mean, Jim will have to get up a little early. Have his coffee a little earlier.
I don't know if I can.
Right,
leave for a wedding by
right.
8 o'clock.
No, I just, just a thought.
I mean, I like that idea, but it does sound brutal. Well, we can talk, right?
Yeah, why don't we can talk about it. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to committee updates. So first up, we have the advocacy committee. Yes.
So the advocacy committee is primarily discussing.
Aaron, can you speak up a little bit?
Sure, it's a little-
Areas, yeah.
That microphone. Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure,
Yeah.
The advocacy committee is talking primarily right now about an opportunity potentially to support the students at Deer Ridge. I know many of us were able to attend their graduation yesterday, the first AAOT cohort to come through. It was really moving and special. They've worked really hard, especially considering that they do not have access to technology for their program. And there is I think maybe a path, an opportunity for us to help elevate this issue, especially with elected leaders. Erin Murr has done great work reaching out to electeds, including Anthony, Jason Prop, and Emerson Levy, Anthony Broadbent, who was able to join us at the graduation yesterday to learn a little bit more about this issue of about the program, and then also about the issue of lack of technology. And so we're continuing to talk a little bit about how we can appropriately support around this. There's a lot of collaboration with the team at Deer Ridge to try to make something happen so that they have not only an AAOT, but the experience of working with technology that will help them to succeed when they leave prison and enter the workforce again. So that's a bit of our focus right now. Is there anything you two would like to add? Great. Can you folks do that?
Okay, thank you, Erin. Next up, we have policy review committee.
Yes, and forgive me if I get the nomenclature wrong. It's hard to remember BEP and GP and, all that stuff. But right now we are we're continuing to work on BPR 1 and 2. Those are board president relations, and that has to do with delegation to president and president's job description. And I think we're getting pretty close to be able, hopefully next month, to be able to bring a first draft, if not next month, the month after.
And then we also are working on GP 8 and 9, which are board policies. And that is board member code of conduct and board operations. And particularly in board operations, we're talking about public comment, and because we have really general language about time limits and about just generally how we operate with our public comments. And so we're discussing that, and those will be 8 and 9 will be before the board probably within the next couple of months also. Then we have a couple of new ones that we're working on. The Oregon legislature adopted some new policies, or directed in the last legislative session that we adopt, all community colleges adopt some new policies. And so those we are working on, because we don't have to adopt them as they are, we need to tailor them for our college. And so Alicia is assisting us with that and gonna come to our next meeting on the 18th, so that we can talk through that and hopefully get that in the near future to the board. And then Michael very graciously is like filling his plate really full before he leaves to help us get through some policies that we're gonna add on capital improvements and other financial type stuff, so that we can have sort of a full complement of advisable policies on financial type stuff, and including capital facilities and for maintenance type things, yes, so that we can at least, you know, have a policy that'll keep us monitoring it regularly and knowing where we are. So Michael is working on the first drafts of those, and I'm working with him a little bit, but it's mostly Michael. He's looking at other policies and looking at best practices, and the committee will be taking that up. If we don't have time, the next meeting we've been trying to do almost months, because we know we've got a lot. So that's where we are. The one that I think is most close is the capital facilities policy, meaning the next one that'll come to us on as far as the new ones. So that's what we got.
And then we're gonna stop adding until we get adjourned through some of these. We're
Yeah,
gonna stop adding.
We're feeling like we're a little,
Yeah.
but as you all know, the good thing is that we have been now through every policy. The board has, or the policy committee and or the board have considered every one of our policies within the last 3 years. So we don't have anything that's super stale.
That was a feat.
That was feet. Yeah, we spent a lot of time meeting and a lot of time drafting.
Yes.
And thinking and doing research and everything. And I have to say, y'all, we're really well served with this committee, because these folks, Aaron and Erica, do a lot of work behind the scenes, like going and finding other policies from other colleges, so that we don't have to reinvent, and Greg and Michael also. So thank you. And of course, Kyle keeps us all on task.
Yeah.
Laura, I haven't heard from you about the agenda. But he does it nicely. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay, and then we have next up the President Evaluation Committee. So we have met, we've done interviews, we've collated scores and comments, and we have an executive session later today. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, so now we're to board member activities. Who would like to go first? Alan's ready.
So on the 27th, Amy Ward asked me to come to the Redmond open house. There wasn't a lot of people there, but it was good to have one. And it was real interesting to go around and just see how it was put together and talk with different faculty that were there about what they do. That's all I have.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. On May 21st, attended the foundation board meeting. On May 22nd, we had an advocacy committee meeting. On May 29th, I attended a BPFO interview. Campus. And then yesterday attended the Deer Ridge graduation ceremony.
Thank you, Erin. Okay.
22nd, we have a Friday, Greg, Erica, and 9th, and on the 5th, I met Greg on Friday. On the 5th to the 9th, Eric and I worked together through several calls, and emails. So anyway, and I went to the graduation at Deer Ridge, which was amazing yesterday. If you ever get a chance to go to that, very inspiring.
I don't have anything to report.
Thank you, Joe.
On May 22nd, I attended the advocacy committee meeting, May 28th, policy committee meeting, June 3rd, the scholarship celebration, beautiful and moving as always. Yesterday, June 9th, attended the Deer Ridge commencement, and I just wanna special congratulations to Emma, Jackie, Jay, and Tony, and all of the faculty and staff who have supported that program and taught in that program. Congratulations to you all. And then I'll just mention that the board self-evaluation will be hitting your inbox this week. So please keep an eye out, and we'll put a deadline in there so we have a chance to put everything together and discuss at the retreat. That's it.
The anticipation. Excited.
On May 28th, Policy Review Committee, on May 28th, a call with Michael Lalonde. On May 28th, a call with a Budget Committee member, Jay Mayer. On the 29th, an interview with a VPFO candidate. On May 29th, the President's Evaluation Committee. And then I did 4 separate interview calls with community and extended senior leadership team folks in connection with the President's Evaluation Committee, folks that were jointly, you guys may recall, jointly selected by the board and Greg. And then probably the coolest thing, although I didn't get a certificate like Greg did, we went to, we were invited. I was invited as the Cook County Board representative, and Greg was invited as a COCC president to the Cook County School District meeting on the 8th of this month, June, in order to see a special recognition of the students from Cook County High School who earned their AAOT along with their diploma. And it's so cool. I know several of those young people, and this is like a huge financial savior to them, right? I mean, like at least 2 of them, their parents told me, my kid gets to go to college because we can afford 2 years, we can't afford 4 years. And so that was pretty cool. There were 8 of them. I actually thought there were 11, and I think there are, but I think that's counting the students. And we have 3 different high schools because we've got Rosalie Mountain, which is sort of a hybrid homeschool school, and then we forgot our alternative school. So, but anyway, very cool. We doubled the number that we had graduate last year, and so Joel said that I think in 3 years we'll have more than half the class getting getting an AOT. Anyway, it's something to aspire to. Anyway, it was very cool that Greg was there, and it's very clear that we have that Greg and our other folks have really fostered a closer relationship with the K-12 schools there, which I appreciate a lot. That's all I have.
Thank you, Lauren. On May 22nd, I have the President's Evaluation call. On May 22nd, I also met with Greg and Jim, and on the 22nd, also at the Advocacy Committee. On the 29th at the Policy Review Committee. On the 29th, I also had the VPFO interview. The 29th, a call with Greg and Jim, and the 29th, the President's Evaluation Committee. And then, like Jim said, there has been several calls, like Laura, Jim, and I were making calls, so. And that's it. So now we're to the President's report.
Yeah, it's a busy season, but a ton of gratitude. It's my first end of the year getting a chance to attend a lot of things. As Laura mentioned, on Monday, we both attended that in Cook County. I will specify that it's not COCC that offers all those classes, leads to the AEOT. We're actually cobbling it together with a lot of classes from Climate Community College and OIT, and there's some things to be worked out there. But it was still a pleasure to celebrate with those students in the community.
To be clear, COCC weren't involved, it wouldn't happen.
It's true. It's true. But yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we don't know.
credit because you're gonna get the blame, so.
Sure. All right. A couple of things though. We had a fantastic diversity reception back on the 26th. Super great event, way to celebrate students and some of the work that's gone on this year. Give a lot of credit to our inclusion team who've just done a fantastic job, I think, the last year of putting some things together. Last year, we had a number of really, last week, we had a number of really exciting events. The Art Awards were just a treat to go to. I know Sarah and I were both there. They're really celebrating some of the incredible art that our students produce, which was just a great opportunity to attend that. The end of the year student showcase in MODOC, which was fantastic. The student writing contest and the thread, excellent to take part in and hear some of the students actually present their poetry and the things that they've written. Very, very cool. Our fire EMS graduation was outstanding. They showed a long video of students fighting fires, and it definitely puts a whole different perspective on the hands-on learning they get at COCC. And then I would just echo how fantastic it was yesterday at Deer Ridge. That was truly a privilege to be a part of, and I would also thank the board for all of your support. That's, I know, been a heavy lift, and now out of that second cohort, and I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I love the advocacy work we're doing to see if we can get laptops up there. I think it's just a great example of how advocacy can really work at the board level. So thank you all for that. And commencement on Saturday. Yeah, can't miss that.
Okay, thank you, Greg. All right, so then we have some dates, and I'll just read through them. So Saturday, June 13th is the commencement on the Bend campus. Thursday, June 18th is Policy Review Committee. Thursday, June 18th is the Advocacy Committee meeting. Friday, June 19th is closed for Juneteenth. Friday, July 3rd, closed in observance of the Independence Day. Wednesday, July 8th, we have our Board of Directors meeting in Boyle in Bend. And Saturday, July 18th, we have our Board of Directors retreat that we're anticipating. We will do the evaluation in. Okay. Okay, so that concludes the open session agenda. And then I will begin reading to put us into executive session. And once we come out of that, we will just adjourn. So you are all free to leave. Okay, the COCC Board of Directors will now meet in executive session for the purpose of ORS 192.660, Section 1, Subsection I, performance evaluation of disability. ORS 192.660, Section 2, Subsection D, labor negotiations, and ORS 192.660, Section 2, Subsection F, to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed to not report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. And then we're not returning. Thank you. Are we what?
Are we adjourned?
Yes.
I have recording.